Well, let's have a look to see what's behind these two doors. Wow, that's gonna be intimidating for some. So this is our utility room. Seems like there's a lot going on in here, but actually we can break it down into two different components. We have a gas forced air furnace, and we have a gas hot water heater. So let's talk a bit about the furnace. I think it's very important that you know how to change the air filter. Before we get in, oh, movie offer. Okay, let's get back to the furnace. So once again, I think it's important that you know how to change your filter. It's general maintenance you should do a few times a year. Just some basics about how the furnace works. Centrally located in the house, I have a thermostat that controls the heat, the air conditioning, and how much humidity is in my house, which is a humidistat. Anyways, if I'm in the heating season, I turn my thermostat, it calls for heat. What's going to happen is the gas burner, it's going to ignite, and it's going to heat a metal heat exchanger. Now when that gets to a certain temperature, the fan will kick on and it'll blow heat or blow air past that exchanger. So it'll blow the heat from that through the ductwork throughout the house, heating the rooms. Now once the rooms are filled with warm air, it's gonna force the more condensed cold air back into the cold air return, which is this duct here, and then back into the furnace. So when it comes back into the furnace, there's actually, this is where the filter is located, because you want to filter the air that's coming through their house, whether there's dust or hair or whatnot, that's going to end up in the ductwork, and instead of having it blown back through the house, that filter is going to stop, depends on the type of filter, will stop most of the dust and hair that's in that cold air return. So let's have a look at the filter. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the switch off to the furnace. Just makes it easier. If the air is running, it makes it easier to pull the filter out because there's no suction on the back side of it. Anyways, there's a little friction fit door here that comes out, and your filter should just slide out. Now this filter's been in there a bit more than 2 months, and it's getting pretty dirty already. Now I change my filters every 3 months. I have a reminder on my phone, and we'll talk a bit more about that a bit. Anyways, on the filter, if you're going to order a new filter, it's very important that you get the right size. This one here is 16 by 25 by 1. You notice there's an arrow on here. There's a certain way this is actually going to be installed in the furnace. The arrow represents the direction that the air flows. So if the air is coming down, the cold air return back into the furnace, the air is flowing this way, so that's the way the arrow should point. And you just slide that back in. Put your cover on, turn your furnace switch on. So let me show you a couple of filters that I have here. This one here is the same that's what's in there now. See how nice and white it is. I'll probably be changing that later on in the month. Now here's a filter that came when they installed the furnace. It's just a cheap fiberglass filter. It will collect or stop some of the dust, and actually as this collects more and more dust, it will actually plug it up a bit, and it will actually start filtering some of the finer dust. The only problem with that is when either one of these filters, any filter you have, gets dirty and it restricts the flow of air through your furnace has to work harder. So if your furnace is working harder, it's harder on that, most likely it's going to wear out quicker. I'd rather spend an extra few dollars on installing these more often during the year than actually having a tech guy come in and repairing the furnace. So just keep that in mind. I'm going to put up a few links after the video on just the function of the furnace, but also the different types of filters that are available. There's many different filters. It's actually a pretty good read, and it'll help you. Depends on your lifestyle and if you have pets or whatnot. It'll help you determine which type of filter that you would use within your household. So the next thing we'll talk about in the utility room is the hot water tank. It's pretty basic. It's just a cylinder with water in it that has a gas heater in the bottom of it. But that leads me to a few things here that I'd like to talk to you about, and that is the gas line and the water supply. First thing I'll touch base on is the gas line. Your gas line will be supplied in your house by a black steel pipe. The setup I have here, I have a gas line running to the hot water tank and one running to the furnace. Both of them have isolation valves, so I can actually cut the gas off for each one of these individually. So if there's any work done on these, the gas can be turned off. But there's also a main gas shut off, and that's important for you to know the location of that if you do have gas in your house. This here is the, even though this isn't an exterior wall, it goes in the garage. This is the last shut off valve that I have access to. So if I have gas range, if I ever have any problems or a fire, or if I want to shut off the range upstairs, there is a small shut off behind the stove, but I can just come down here and isolate my whole system by turning this valve off here. So that'll shut off gas to the whole house. So it's important for you to know where that is. So the last thing I want to talk about in this room is the water supply. It's very crucial to know where your main shut-off valve is. From past experience, working in a lot of different homes, I've run across some water problems, and there's been times where we couldn't find the main shut-off, and it caused a bit more damage than it could have if we would have known where that shut-off valve is. Nicely, in this house here, it comes right into the utility room, as you can see down below here. It's usually comes in somewhere near wherever your hot water tank is, from my past experience anyways. So knowing where that is, this has a ball valve in it. Notice the valve here goes up and down. That's the flow of the water. All you have to do is just turn that sideways and that'll cut the flow off. So that'll cut the water off for the entire house. Okay, let's continue our tour.